All right. Thank you for the intro. My name is Matt Pollock. I'm the Director of Operations at Evolve Manufacturing. And today we're going to talk about making the transition, going to digital. And we'll be using Evolve as a case study for that today. So before we get going, I wanted to start at center stage. I'm a bit nervous, and I had a really nice pep talk from my boss about 15 minutes ago, so I wanted to share that video. I recorded it for everybody to watch.
Are you ready for your big presentation? They're Skyping in 15 minutes.
I think so. I'm a bit nervous.
Now, just because I'm in New York doesn't mean I'm not right there with you. Oh, did you get those notes I sent you?
Yep.
I got them right here. I've been reviewing them in my office all morning.
You know, when I had my first presentation,
my boss told me that success belongs to the person who believes in the power of positive thinking. You're going to be great.
Point is, especially since COVID, we're able to go digital in a lot of meaningful ways. And this is my ideal place to work. Wouldn't that be nice if I could help run a company by just using a tablet anywhere I wanted to, whether it's in my office, on the line, or a beach in Costa Rica? So we're going to go toward this. This is our final goal for the presentation. Now, we're not quite at the beach today. And normally, I work in the office at Evolve. We're a contract manufacturing company located in the Bay Area. We're in Fremont. We were founded in 1999 by Noreen King, and we've been building medical devices since 2004. We build all sorts of stuff, and right now we have a pretty diverse range of devices we build, everything from large MRI devices to complex surgical robots. We build implants in our clean rooms, and then the big thing over the last year and a half, just like everybody else, COVID-related things, ventilators, and a few million testing kits. And so for all that, all the work that goes into it, here is a picture of me. This is most of us. It's really easy to get buried literally behind a stack of paperwork, even though most of us want to have something much more reasonable with actual information that's useful. And so that's the discussion today. I think we can all agree going digital is ideal. If we could just choose, we're going to do it. But sometimes it's difficult. Digital is easy to use, right? Well, not usually, and a lot of times implementation is really hard as well. I've definitely been a part of a few ERP systems that have been onboarded. It always takes longer than you think, and it's always more expensive than you think too. There's the license fees, there's the annual fees, there's the consultants to hire, there's training you have to go through. Cost is a big thing. So paperwork is free, right? We don't pay extra for keeping paperwork in our lives. And paperwork, well, we've had it for a long time, so we know it's compliance. We've been through dozens of audits already. I know this is a good thing to use, but for digital, there's software validations, there's Part 11 compliance. And so even though digital is ideal, we still have to think about all these other things: ease of use, cost, and compliance. And to really belabor the compliance point, for software, you've got to validate, you have to document your user needs, your architecture, your detail design, go back and validate. There's version control, and then there's Part 11. Who here knows about Part 11? Let's do some audience participation. Great, can you guys tell me the difference between an open and closed system? Because for me, it's a lot of work to figure that out. And most people don't want to know what that means. So the whole point is, this is why a lot of medical device companies stick with paperwork. So that's my talk today. Thank you all for coming. Paperwork wins. Great. All right, there's the problem statement for us today. Digital seems like too much work. Is it actually worth it? The things we're going to review today really come down to three main things. Is it something that is easy to use? Implementation we'll look at a little bit as well. Is it cost effective and affordable? And is it compliant? It has to be compliant. Now, before we get into it too much, there's a few key points I want to go over as well. And this is something that is going to be prevalent throughout the talk today. And if my team was here, they'd be sick of hearing this already. It's the first crawl, then walk, then run, and then fly. That was the Martin Luther King Jr. thing. Jim Collins has this as well. It's a first shoot bullets in a lot of different directions, and then you put all your stuff in the one that works, and then you fire a cannonball at it. We do this all the time, where we try to take on too much too quickly. And going digital this is key. This is a key takeaway for going digital. Start small, start somewhere, but do it in an area you're already comfortable with. Maybe you lead an organization, but you've got one team, they're really good change agents, and they're tech savvy, start there. If you bought a huge, big system that was marketed as it's going to solve all your problems, and you just go for it, a lot of times you're taking on too much too quickly. It's not always what you think it is, and you will have issues with implementation, cost, and compliance because no one's going to do it correctly. So this is a big one. Start small, and the examples we're going over today, they're all crawl examples. We're going to start at the basics for what we did at Evolve over the last few years. The next key takeaway is a little bit more tricky. This is making sure you have the right people, the right culture for change. We're going to get into some specifics. We're going to talk about coding and Python and all this fun stuff, but the people aspect has to be a foundation, and it can't be ignored. So please don't ignore this. It could be that you are part of the consciousness that brought on paperwork to your organization. If it is, you need to think in a different way. It could be that you know that you need to go digital. There's the Edward Deming quote, "It's not necessary to change. Survival is not mandatory." I'm sure you guys have all heard that one before. It could be you need to replace yourself with somebody else or bring on someone to do it for you. It could be you're not the right person. I can tell you, and we'll go through the examples at Evolve Manufacturing, the transition we've been making over the past few years going into digital was based on people. There were a few people that we could not have done what we've done over the past years without them. And we could not have had those people at Evolve if we didn't have the right culture, which is a top-down thing. So keep this in mind. It's going to be prevalent through the whole conversation. All right. For us, the center of our core business is manufacturing. Now, like I said, we build MRI devices that are really cutting edge and cool. We have large surgical robotics that we build. We've got clean rooms. We've got all these fun things. And I'm not going to talk about automation. Within, I think, at least California, there's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of high mix, low volume. And so we're going to start the presentation off by talking about all these ancillary processes, because no matter what I build, my NCR process will always be the same. My purchasing controls will always be the same. My training processes, they shouldn't change. We have one quality system that's compliant to 9001, 1345, and 820. And so it doesn't really matter what I build. These are stable. So you can dump in your resources into going digital and automating these processes. At the end, we'll come back and we'll talk about manufacturing because, again, that's the core business for Evolve. All right, we're going to start with a crawl. We're going to do a really easy one, and it's based on training. This is using Google Documents. How many people have transitioned from using Microsoft tools to Google Documents? Anybody? Oh, good. Good. Maybe we're all here. Gregor, next time you need to raise your hand because you work at Evolve. So you need to know we did that. This is a form we use to keep track of all the assemblers and technicians that we have at Evolve. We've got a large group, and their skill sets vary because the person that is out there with a monkey wrench covered in grease, I don't want that person working in my clean room. So we have different customer-focused teams, and they all have kind of skill sets based on the different needs of our customers. And this is how we keep track of it. Historically, there is a form you fill out, paperwork. The lead fills it out. They say, John Doe worked this many hours on this product. Great. They turn it into quality. Quality looks at it, says, yep, it's fine. They put it in a system, in a spreadsheet, and we use that to keep track of everyone because we have goals around number of people cross-trained in expertise, so we don't have any issues with absenteeism, and so we can ramp when we need to because everyone has a hockey stick ramp. A lot of paperwork. So what we did is we took this form and we moved it into Google Forms. This is like a survey. It's like a SurveyMonkey kind of thing, but it's more user-friendly. Anyone can use it, and the nice thing is it automatically links with Google Sheets. So now, if I have someone fill this out, I skip half the process. There's no submitting it to quality. There's no entering it into an Excel spreadsheet. It logs it for me automatically. And it makes it for me as a quality person for my team to go back and audit. They can look really carefully and say, I see we have 489 responses. Do I have all 489 printed out? No, go print them, sign them, and I'm good. It's really easy. So this is something that we've made it very compliant as well. We made it so the headers are the same. This is still our controlled document. This is still what gets DCOs to change it. And if an auditor asks, here's our form. But on the bottom, we have a link to what it should be. And for this, and we'll talk about Part 11 compliance, because that open-close system thing, we still print these out, because why not? We're crawling on this example. We can look to getting electronic signatures later on, but at least we can start here. Pretty easy example, right? We're starting pretty nice and easy. This one is It took about 2 hours to create the first one. The first one's always the hardest because not everyone has used Google Forms and Sheets. It's almost as powerful as Excel, but it's much more collaborative. It's free, and because we're printing, it's still compliant. Easy first step. I think anyone here can take that for their team. There's probably some paperwork that you're thinking about already. That's good. Now the next one, I need to make sure this is clear. I am not in sales. I get no kickback. They're not going to pay me for this, but onefactory is an amazing tool. This is not homegrown. This is a company I've worked with for 6 years now, and we've been using them at Evolve for 3.5 or so. I used them at the last company as well. onefactory has a cloud-based system that originally was used for documentation of inspection results. And it's really slick. You can take your spec doc, upload it. It'll find all the callouts you have on there automatically, pull the specs for you automatically, and make a nice inspection list. You then go through it and make sure that it has the right AQL level. If it's for first article versus standard inspection, you can add notes and take care of all that rest, but it does it really nicely for you. And then when you go and actually do it, so that's the plans, when you do your first article or you do your actual inspection, you're typing stuff in. Or for us, we linked it with our CMM and our vision sensors and vision systems from Keyence, so it's a direct upload. No more handwriting, no more mistakes. It tells you what your sample size should be. It really takes out all the errors. And the really nice thing about this is their analytics, they give me all my supplier quality information automatically. Now, the really fun thing about this is a stepped approach. Oh, one more thing. By feature, it tells me not just does it pass or fail, it tells me all the SPC stuff, histogram charts and run control charts, PPK, CPK. So it'll tell me by feature, not in my just in-spec or out-of-spec, it'll tell me the risk. So I can run a quick report. It'll say, here's the risk by feature. This one feature right here is getting worse and worse and worse. Let's say it's a molded part. I can call up the molding vendor and say, hey guys, this feature is drifting. You've got 2 months. I need you to retool within 1 month. Otherwise, you will give me something that's non-conforming. Non-conformance is always slow down your progress. So this is fantastic. You avoid it. You're preventive. But one thing that's really important is the iterative approach Evolve took with onefactory. We started by using just their receiving inspection module that's in here. We updated our quality system, we got people used to it, and you pay based on your number of users. So it was a small monthly fee. We then expanded to our in-process inspection, our documentation of final inspection is in there, our supplier list is in there, our equipment list is in there, our NCRs, which is nice because if something fails in inspection, you click the NCR button and it writes the NCR for you. That's nice. SCARs are in there, and there's more modules that we haven't taken on yet. But the nice thing is, it's at our own cadence. And as we go, at first onefactory was used just by the quality team, but then purchasing found out about it. So then we went to purchasing. They already had used it a little bit. It wasn't brand new. So then when we got to the NCR team, they already knew what they were doing. So it's that walk, crawl, walk, run approach. Start small, start with a small group, and ramp up as you get more and more information. And onefactory is great. The people that, Nipun is the CEO, he is happy to take feedback. And so, for example, back to Part 11 compliance, they're building that into their system. So they'll have it so you can have electronic signatures built into onefactory. They're working on that right now. Isn't that nice? They're also excellent at helping with their, just their instruction manuals are really good. They're happy for you to plagiarize them and stick them in your own process documents for you to train to. Same with different training they provide. It's very affordable, and again, it's compliant. In fact, if you have an auditor that balks at this, you show them all the analytics. Auditors love you to have great feedback. This is about a quarter of your quality system is on measurement and monitoring. No one's going to say this is a bad idea. So again, onefactory, check them out. No sponsorship, but they're a good company. Now the last part I want to go over is very simple. It's your own website. At Evolve, we've had on our website for a few years now a customer portal where our customers can go log in and they see very specifically their own data. It pulls from our own databases we use, it pulls in the information live, so they get live information on quality, production, inventory, and a few other things based on their needs. It's really slick, but that's a much bigger case study, so we're not going to go over that one. This one is much more simplistic. Put your customer survey on here. This is something that's required, especially with 9001. And on this is nice too. We have it on our domain. So as people fill this out, we get more clicks on our domain, which makes our marketing guys happy because that bumps up your SEO. So everybody wins. This is something that is easy and everyone can do right away. I assume everyone already has a website. Most of them, if they're built on like Wix or HubSpot or something, you can go and get the spreadsheet from there and download it as much as you need to. We have it so it emails us too, so we know live if anyone is giving us feedback. So that's a compliant thing too, because that's already backed up on our servers. So it should be free for you all, should be easy to do, and it's compliance. I know I'm talking quickly. There's a lot to go over. This is the part of the ancillary processes, 3 really easy examples of just where to start. Again, we had the Google Forms and Sheets. Take a look at it. We use them all the time. Using onefactory is a great place to start, and use your own website as much as you can. Now we're going to get into, well, actually, before we move into something, I do want to show just, this is the nice overview. We thought this would be hard. It's easy across the board. It's free or affordable, and it's compliant. Now, before we move into the production stuff, I do want to talk about Part 11 because it's come up quite a bit. Part 11 compliance is an FDA federal mandated requirement. The whole point is if I'm signing as the quality guy that yes, it's okay to use this product, I don't want someone else coming over, logging into my computer and signing for me and pushing stuff through. So how do I know it's me? So it applies to quality signature, or electronic signatures and electronic quality records. Now, there's a lot to go over on this stuff. So here's my key takeaway is find someone that does it already. These are 3 really good choices. You guys have all used DocuSign to sign like rental agreements for your apartment, right? Or like a car dealership. They have a Part 11 module that you can sign up for, and it logs in a bit more and it has more information, but it does it for you. Each of these options, we use DocuSign, but each of these options provide validation records for you already, so you don't have to worry about that, and they maintain the compliance for you. So don't try to do this. In fact, I did try to do this once at a startup I worked at. We tried to see if we could make our quality system training spreadsheet that was in Google Docs using a Google form and making it Part 11 compliant. And we kind of did. We gave everyone different logins and different checks and everything. And so it kind of worked. But I had more than one long conversation with an auditor explaining why it's okay, and I had wished I didn't have to have those conversations in the first place. So you got some options. They're all good. You can't go wrong. For this stuff, just use the experts. All right. How are we doing? Everyone looks like they're awake, which is good because this is the first one. All right, we've covered the outside parts. We're going to focus on manufacturing. Again, Evolve is a manufacturing company, so that's what we do. You might have a different, might be design or service in the middle, but for us, we're going to talk about manufacturing. And I think that was on the title, so hopefully that's why you guys are here. Now for us, it's kind of an interesting thing because like we mentioned earlier, in California, everything is high mix, low volume. Sure, we have a couple high runners with large volumes. Our COVID testing kit is going to be our case study for this section. And we got up to about 40,000 testing kits made every day. That includes filling tubes in our clean room, 40,000 a day, and then putting them in all the bags and all the stuff, and then doing our third-party logistics and distributing it everywhere across America. So sure, that's nice, but again, California, we're always going to have this, especially in medical devices. There's always a new company coming out with something, or it's an existing company that has a Gen 2 and they need some help. This means that you're not going to have a lot of automation in your manufacturing line. You can't do that. When I was at Abbott, we would send the high volume stuff to Puerto Rico or Costa Rica. Now, I'm a big fan of bringing stuff back to America, and we talk about this a lot, of bringing manufacturing jobs back. But that means we're going to have a lot of manufacturing jobs that are people building stuff. And a lot of times when you hear manufacturing in America using your hands, this is what you think of. You think of dirty floors, really bad gender inequality on this one, but a conveyor belt in the middle. And unfortunately, for the people that really like automation, that's still not the case. Here's our ventilator line. Still has a conveyor belt. It's much cleaner, but this is Evolve. This is one of our front lines. So how do I make it so I can capture production information from people? Within our operations strategic roadmap, we have a part of that being having a factory digital twin. Part of the Internet of Things, Industry 4.0. I've been going to this conference for a number of years, and I've always attended the talks on manufacturing 4.0, Industry 4.0, because they're always intriguing and it makes perfect sense. I don't like doing value stream maps with a stopwatch. That's old, it's dead. But all the talks that I go to, or at least 9/10 of them, they all are geared toward machine shops or sheet metal, board houses, molding houses, places with large equipment that does all the work, and you got someone making sure it doesn't crash. For us, and I believe for a lot of people, it's a lot of humans. The coolest one I heard was there was a group of people with sewing machines, right? And they could tap into the power voltage to know if the people are hitting the foot pedal or not, so they could know which of the people sewing was the most efficient. That's cool, I like that. And so we put that in to our idea of how do we make an evolved digital twin factory that does not have just a lot of big equipment sitting down for us to just tap into. You can just tap into that stuff. I cannot legally tap into human beings with any cables or sensors yet. All right, so here's our case study. And these are my kids, because that's what you do. And the case study for this too is the COVID testing kits. And we made a few million now, right? So we have to make sure that we're not counting these things manually. That's not going to work for anybody. We started small. We crawled. This is a cheap photoelectric sensor. These are a couple bins I stole from work and cut up with a Dremel tool, duct taped them together, and it worked. Well, I could put tubes or bags down here and they would count them. Very basic. I'm not going to give you the cool big examples. We're going to start with the basic examples. It worked. It was a good proof of concept. So I took it into work. I gave it to our engineering department. We put some really good interns on this thing. They went to Home Depot and got some cool funnels, and they built a tube counter for me. It's much more reliable, but it still has a counter at the top. It's not hooked up to anything. So at the end of the day or the shift, they still had to record the values, the number of tubes that went through this tube counter. It's a good start. It's a step in the right direction. But for us to have a true digital twin, I need no human interaction. Humans are messy. I need them to do exactly what they're already doing, and for something to get triggered and we know what they're doing by them just doing their job. So more recently, we got into, we got a breadboard here. We've got a Raspberry Pi here. We're putting stuff together. This is fun engineering stuff. And so this is Gen 1 of this sensor package that we created at Evolve. And it is something that is economical. And it makes it so we can install these wherever we need to on our production line to capture stuff. So this story, Raspberry Pi hooked up with our breadboard, did some 3D printing of our boxes to make them look nice. We wanted to have nice white. We wanted them to be more compact. It does have wiring that comes out of it that can either get you hijack like a foot pedal or it plugs into a sensor. Power source is optional. And then from there, we can get into the coding. The issue was that the sensor we were using, the frequency of measurement was 1,000 hertz to 10,000 hertz. So if you have a little COVID testing kit bag and you put it through there, it's going to count every letter that passes by there. So you put it down there, it counts 17, but not always 17. That we could manage. And so we used Python, and we could program the boards to make it so we had a hold function, or we had a signal noise loss function in there. So it makes it so, let's say the bag goes down, it counts it once, and then it waits for a quarter second, and then it's ready to count again. So we use Python, and actually this is it. So this is our Gen 2, and this machine right here, this is for, you put a tube in there, it prints a label, it then applies the label to the tube and spits it out. Every time you hit the foot pedal, prints a label, applies it, spits it out. So I've got a foot pedal. I hijack the foot pedal, I put it up to, see if this thing works, there we go. Our nice little Evolve sensor, and it shoots it up to Wi-Fi. And again, it's a really nice little tool for us to use and put anywhere on the lines as we need. But that's only half the story. I can't just have it go to Wi-Fi and expect it to know what to do with it. So the next part is the digital twin app for Evolve. And Gregor in the back is probably gonna yell at me because I haven't told marketing about this, and it's a terrible name. So we'll have to come up with a better name. And this is our early on. This is us crawling again with the right people, because I can't do this. If you guys have questions up to any point in the presentation till now, I'm happy to answer them at the end. if it's about this stuff, we're going to call one of my engineers and ask them the questions because they're smarter than I am. But you see there's a sensor, there's the database, there's the back end, there's the front end, there's some GUI stuff. And so I try to clean it up a little bit for the sake of this presentation. We start with a device. We've already seen this when we use Python. We then need a database for this to, once it blasts it to the Wi-Fi with the Raspberry Pi W, it needs to go to a database. Now the database, because this is the economical way to go digital, we looked into Amazon and what were the other ones? InterServer, hosting, they're not free. So we actually stopped using those and we used XAMPP and then later on converted it over once it was ready onto our own domain, which again helps with SEO. On the back end, we queried our databases using PHP and then we use Ajax. Ajax is really slick. It makes it so you don't overwhelm your servers. It pulls in on a set frequency. So it's not always, it's every second or every 5 seconds or every hour, whatever you want. So that's the back end where it makes all the data actually useful. And then on the front end, this is a web app that we have at Evolve. So we used HTML, CSS, JavaScript. We used Bootstrap to make it look pretty. And then we used D3 to make our fun graphs. I'll send slides later on, but yeah, this is a lot of work. The implementation on this one is not that easy, but the usability is. That's the nice thing. This has been, years. At the end, and for this case study, you can see some of our early GUIs, our user interfaces. That's nice. It's all there. But this graph, this is one of my favorite graphs. And actually, this is from the 3rd. This is just from last week. We have those devices that print labels and apply them on the tubes, right? Tube, label, printer, and applicator. We've got 2 of them, Team A and Team B. And for a while, they were not performing very well. So we hooked up these sensors to their foot pedals, and now we can track them live. So you can see there's the pink goal line. You can see there's a break. There's their lunch break. Here's the end goal. That's what I need them to attain at the end. On this day, look at that, their total. They met the goal. Everything's good, right? Notice anything weird? I do. I noticed that Team B started 30 minutes late. I noticed all of their morning breaks are a lot longer than it was supposed to be. And I noticed that Team B is twice as effective or efficient as Team A. That's interesting. The ramp is there. If Team B could do the right ramp the whole day, I wouldn't need 2 teams. This one little graph gave our engineers so much information that the next day the graph looked very different. It was fantastic. This was me on a tablet in Costa Rica, kind of awesome stuff, right? The other thing on this too is, this is a web app, so it's on my computer wherever I go. It's on our engineer's computer, and then we put a monitor right there next to the people with the machines, so they see how they're doing against the goal, and then they see some friendly competition with Team A versus Team B. So that's the end of this example. We went over first the quality system. We did 3 examples. We went over the hardware on the software. When it comes back down to the whole thing, looking at this chart again, it's not that bad. It's easy to use. Implementation is kind of tricky in some areas, but it's affordable and sometimes free, and it's compliance. So the last key takeaway slide, just as a reminder, because it's very important, start somewhere, start small, make sure you have the right people, and if you're still lost or you need some help, ask someone that's done it again. Ask someone that's done it before, and I know we don't have enough time for Q&A, but I can chat with you guys afterwards. So anyway, best of luck on all of your own pathway to going digital. Thank you.